All right, so get this. Today's deep dive, it's a little different. We're going to be looking at this idea of letting go as a way to, like, bring in more money,
Yeah.
financial abundance, right? And I know it might sound a bit out there, but the book we're looking at today, it's called Letting Go, Trusting the Universe for Financial Flow. And it, like, really makes you think.
Yeah.
It basically says that all that worrying and hustling we do about money, it might actually be what's holding us back.
Mm.
So, are you ready to explore like a whole new way of thinking about your money?
I think it's, such a fascinating concept because we're so used to thinking that if you want to do well financially, you got to work hard.
Right.
You got to hustle, maybe get lucky. But this
Yeah.
book is saying, well, maybe sometimes the best way to get what you want is to kind of like let go of it a little bit.
Okay, I'll be honest. This whole letting go thing when we're talking about money, it
Yeah.
makes me a little nervous. It sounds a bit like giving up, which
Right.
is definitely not my style.
Yeah.
But, I'm open to hearing more. So, how does this letting go thing actually like work? Is it really just saying money come to me and then just sitting back and waiting?
Oh, definitely not. The book makes it really clear that letting go, it's not about being passive.
Okay.
It's about like a real shift in how you think about things
Right.
and how you feel about money.
Yeah.
It's about letting go of those fears and worries we all have about money. Like the feeling that there's not enough
Yeah.
or that it's hard to get or even that we don't deserve it.
That actually makes a lot of sense. I think we all have those kinds of thoughts somewhere deep down, even if we don't always realize it.
Mhm.
But how do we actually like change those thoughts that are so ingrained in us?
Well, the book talks about some really interesting techniques.
Okay.
One of the most powerful is this idea of affirmations.
Oh, yeah.
And these aren't just, fluffy feel-good phrases.
Right.
There's actually a lot of research that shows they can actually work. Basically, if you keep repeating positive statements about money, you can actually reprogram your subconscious mind.
Hmm.
And those limiting beliefs you have, they start to get replaced with more empowering ones.
Yeah. I've tried affirmations before, but I always felt a little skeptical.
Yeah.
Like I was trying to force myself to believe something I didn't.
Yeah.
What's the like secret to making them actually work?
I think the key is to really believe what you're saying, like to
Hmm.
feel it in your gut.
Yeah.
This book has this great example of an affirmation, and it's specifically for breaking down that belief that we have to struggle to make money.
Okay.
And it goes, money comes to me easily and effortlessly. And imagine saying that a few times a day,
Yeah.
really feeling it. Over time, it can actually change how you feel about money.
Okay, so it's not just repeating the words, it's about feeling the feeling.
That's it, yeah.
Yeah.
And that actually leads to another powerful technique, gratitude.
Oh, okay.
The book really stresses that if you focus on what you already have,
Mm.
even the little things,
Mm.
it can make those feelings of abundance even stronger. It's like you're sending a signal to the universe that you're open to receiving more.
I like that analogy. It's like
Yeah.
priming the pump.
Yeah, exactly.
Gratitude is something I've always struggled with a little,
It can be tough.
but I can see how it fits with this whole letting go philosophy. By focusing on what we already have, we're not always wanting more. We're appreciating what's right here, right now, right?
Exactly. And the book even goes deeper, talking about things like meditation and visualization
Mm.
to help you find that inner peace and that sense of abundance. But one of the most interesting ideas, I think, is this concept of inspired action.
Oh, yeah.
It says that when you let go of all that fear-based striving and you really trust the universe,
Mm-hmm.
you're more likely to be guided to opportunities that are actually good for you.
Now that's where things get really interesting. It's like there's something bigger than us, some kind of like cosmic GPS helping us reach our financial goals. But how do we know what inspired action even looks like?
That's the big question.
Yeah.
How do we tell the difference between that and just, making a rash decision because we're stressed about money? That's the million-dollar question. And the book does give some really good advice on that.
Oh.
It talks about tuning into your intuition,
Right.
that little voice inside you that often knows the right way to go,
Yeah.
even when your logical mind is telling you something completely different.
Yeah.
And it also talks about letting go of the need to control everything,
Oh, I can imagine. That's hard.
which, let me tell you, is a lot easier said than done.
Yeah, I can imagine. Letting go of that need to control, to know exactly how everything's going to work out.
Yeah.
That's a pretty big idea. But I have to say, there's something kind of freeing about the idea of just surrendering to the flow, trusting that the universe has got your back.
It is freeing.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean being reckless with your money.
Right.
It's about having this deep trust that things are working out for you,
Yeah.
even when you can't see the whole picture.
Mm.
It's about believing in possibilities, even when things are tough.
Okay, I'm definitely intrigued, but I also have like a million more questions.
Oh, I bet.
Like, what about when things don't go as planned? How does this trusting the universe thing work when, life throws you a curveball?
Right.
And how do we make sure we're not just using this as an excuse to avoid, like, actually taking responsibility for our finances?
Those are all great questions. And there are definitely things we'll be diving into more as we continue our deep dive.
Okay.
But before we do that, I'd love to hear your first impressions. What's sticking with you so far? What feels exciting and what feels maybe a little scary?
Yeah. Yeah, I think, honestly, this whole letting go thing, it's growing on me, I gotta say. But there's this part of me that's still, like, hesitant, Like,
hmm
what about those times when life throws you a real curveball? You lose your job or there's a huge unexpected expense, something that just, like, totally rocks your financial boat.
Yeah,
Does trusting the universe really work in those moments?
that's a good question. And I think it gets to one of the toughest things about this whole approach.
Uh-huh.
It's about holding on to that trust when things feel really uncertain, even scary.
All right.
The book, it talks about how our minds are wired to focus on what could go wrong,
Hmm.
to like anticipate problems.
Right.
So it makes sense that when you're facing money troubles, those fears just pop up.
So how do we like handle those moments? How do we not spiral into a total panic when things go wrong? Because let's be real, financial stress is a real thing,
It is.
and it can really mess with your head and your emotions.
It really can. It's about noticing those scary thoughts
Yeah.
and making a choice to shift your focus.
Okay.
The book actually quotes this ancient philosopher Epictetus,
Mm-hmm.
and he said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters."
Right.
And I think that's so true here.
Yeah.
When we're hit with a financial challenge, we can freak out and panic,
Mm-hmm.
or we can try to stay calm and trust that even this tough situation is, part of something bigger.
Okay, I'm starting to get how this whole mindset shift can be so powerful. But I also wonder, is there a risk that this letting go thing becomes like a way to avoid actually dealing with our money problems?
That's a really interesting question. The book actually talks about that directly.
Okay.
It says very clearly that letting go doesn't mean you just ignore your responsibilities or refuse to do anything about your situation.
Right.
In fact, it says that when you truly let go, you often feel more clear and purposeful. And that can lead you to take more effective action.
So it's not about sitting back and just waiting for a miracle to happen.
No, not at all.
Yep.
It's about understanding that your actions are strongest when they come from a place of inner guidance, not fear or desperation.
Right.
It's about trusting that you're being supported and guided, even when you can't see the whole path ahead.
I love that. It's like finding that balance between taking action and surrendering, between putting in the effort and having trust.
Yeah.
But I also got to ask, isn't there a certain privilege to this whole approach?
Yeah.
What about people who are facing real systemic barriers to financial success? People who are struggling to make ends meet because of things that are totally out of their control. Does letting go even apply in those situations?
That's a really important point, and it's one that we have to consider carefully.
Yeah.
I think it's important to remember that financial abundance, or the lack of it,
Right.
is affected by a lot of different things,
Yeah.
including systemic inequalities and how our society is structured.
Right.
To tell someone who's facing those kinds of challenges to just let go and trust the universe can sound dismissive,
Yeah.
even insensitive.
Yeah, it's definitely not a solution that works for everyone.
Right.
And I think we need to be aware of the potential blind spots in this philosophy.
Exactly.
But even with those things in mind, I'm still drawn to this idea of changing how we think about money, moving away from that scarcity mindset that seems to be everywhere these days.
I think that's where the real power of this is. In challenging those beliefs about money that are holding us back. The book reminds us that we live in an abundant universe,
Right.
that there's enough for everyone. It encourages us to question those messages we hear all the time.
Yeah.
The ones that say we have to fight and compete for every dollar.
Right. Like it's a limited resource.
Yeah, like it's going to run out.
And by letting go of those beliefs, we open ourselves up to new possibilities.
Exactly.
New ways of thinking and being when it comes to money.
That's it. It's about recognizing that our thoughts create our reality.
Hmm.
And if we can shift our thoughts towards abundance,
Yeah.
we can actually start attracting more of it into our lives.
Okay, I'm starting to see how all of this fits together,
Yeah.
but I'm still curious about the practical side of it?
Yeah.
How do we actually develop this abundance mindset?
Mhm.
What are some concrete things we can do to shift our energy and get in sync with like a greater flow of money?
Well, we already talked about affirmations and gratitude,
Right.
and those are a great place to start. But the book also gets into some more nuanced techniques,
Yeah.
like visualization, energy work, even working with the cycles of the moon
Oh, wow.
to boost your manifesting power. And it offers a really interesting perspective on how intuition plays a role in making financial decisions,
Okay.
seeing that we often ignore our gut feelings
Yeah.
and go with logic or advice from other people, which can lead us down paths that aren't really right for us.
I've totally done that before.
Yeah.
Ignoring that gut feeling, talking myself out of something because it didn't make sense logically,
Uh-huh.
and then later regretting it.
It happened.
But learning to trust your intuition, especially when it comes to money, that feels like a whole other level of letting go.
It is. And it's something you can get better at with practice.
Okay.
The book actually gives some really useful tips on how to strengthen your intuition,
Hmm.
including simple exercises you can do to start tuning into that inner voice.
So it's about being more aware, being able to pick up on those little signals that are always there,
Exactly.
guiding us in the right direction.
The more you practice listening to your intuition and actually acting on it,
Yeah.
the stronger it gets.
I'm noticing a theme here. This whole letting go approach, it seems like it's really about building a deeper sense of trust in ourselves,
Yeah.
not just with money, but in all parts of our lives.
You're absolutely right. It's about recognizing that we have this inner wisdom,
Yeah.
this guidance system that's always there
Mm-hmm.
if we just learn to listen.
And when we tap into that wisdom,
Yeah.
we can make choices that aren't just good for us financially, but that also make us feel fulfilled
Yeah.
and are in line with what we're really meant to do.
Exactly. That's what makes it so compelling.
Yeah.
It's about so much more than just having lots of money.
Right.
It's about living a life that's aligned with your values, your passions, your true self.
I love that. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm feeling pretty inspired. I'm starting to see how this letting go philosophy can be a really powerful tool,
Yeah.
not just for bringing in more money, but for creating a life that's more fulfilling and meaningful.
Absolutely.
But before we get too carried away, I think it's important to say that this approach might not be for everyone. I'm
Right.
sure there are some people out there who are thinking, this is all a bit too woo-woo for me.
I'm sure there are.
So, what would you say to those listeners who are feeling a bit skeptical?
I'd say that's totally okay. Not everyone's going to connect with the spiritual side of it
Yeah.
or the idea of trusting the universe.
Right.
And that's fine. But I think even if you take away those spiritual elements,
Mm-hmm.
there are still some really valuable things to learn from this approach.
Okay.
Things like gratitude, mindfulness, self-reflection,
Mm-hmm.
the idea of aligning your actions with your values.
Right.
These are all things that can benefit us no matter what we believe.
That's a great point. It's about taking what works for you and adapting it to your own beliefs and needs.
Exactly.
And who knows, maybe as we explore these ideas, we might even find a deeper connection to something bigger than ourselves.
Maybe so.
Hmm?
The cool thing about this journey is that it's full of surprises.
Yeah.
And you never know what you might discover along the way.
All right, so we've gone through this whole letting go thing, the good, the bad, the questions people might have.
Yeah.
But now let's talk about the actual doing part. Like, if someone's listening to this and thinking, okay, this sounds cool, but how do I actually use this in my life? Where do they even start?
Well, the good thing is you can really make this your own. There's no set formula,
Right.
But the book does give you a bunch of practical techniques to try to help you start changing how you think and feel about money.
Earlier, we talked about affirmations and gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
Those feel like good first steps. But what are some other things people can do to really cultivate that abundance mindset and attract more money into their lives?
One technique the book talks about is visualization, like really picturing your financial goals, feeling like they've already happened. The idea is that by focusing on those positive images and emotions, you're kind of sending a strong message to the universe.
Right.
You're aligning your energy with what you want.
So it's not just about, like, daydreaming about winning the lottery.
No, it's more intentional than that.
Okay.
It's about actively using your imagination and your emotions to create this feeling of being in sync with your financial goals. The book suggests taking some time every day for this, finding a quiet spot where you can relax and really get into it.
That makes sense, like creating a mental picture of the financial life you want. And speaking of pictures, the book also mentions something called energy work, which I gotta admit sounds a little out there to me. What exactly is that?
Energy work is all these different practices that are focused on balancing and harmonizing your energy systems.
Okay.
The book specifically mentions things like EFT, that's emotional freedom technique, and Reiki, and they can help to get rid of energy blocks that might be stopping you from attracting abundance.
Okay, I'm seeing how all of this connects. It's about shifting your thoughts, your emotions, even your energy to
Hmm.
be more open to receiving financial abundance.
Yeah, like you're creating a magnet for wealth and prosperity.
Exactly. And one of the most interesting parts of the book is how it talks about the connection between our energy and the rhythms of the universe.
Right.
It gets into this idea of working with the cycles of the moon to like boost our manifesting power, aligning our intentions with the different phases of the moon. Now, that's something I've never heard of. Tell me more about that.
Okay, so each phase of the moon, it has different energy qualities.
Mm-hmm.
Like the new moon is a time for setting intentions, starting fresh.
Okay.
And the full moon is about letting go of what you don't need anymore and celebrating what you've accomplished.
Interesting.
And the idea is if you sync up your actions and intentions with these lunar cycles,
Yeah,
you can tap into this powerful energy flow that helps you manifest what you want.
that's so cool. It's like working with the natural rhythms of the universe to make your intentions stronger and help your financial goals grow.
Exactly. And the book goes even further, talking about intuition and financial decision making.
Hmm.
It says that we often ignore our gut feelings
Right.
and instead we listen to logic or what other people tell us.
Yeah.
And that can lead us down the wrong path.
You know, I've totally done that. Ignored my gut, talked myself out of something because it didn't seem logical or practical,
Hmm.
and then kicked myself later.
It happens to all of us.
But learning to trust your intuition, especially when it comes to money, that feels like a whole other level of letting go.
It really is.
Yeah.
And it's something you have to work at.
Okay.
The book gives some really simple exercises to try to strengthen your intuition.
Okay.
One of the simplest is just paying attention to those little nudges,
Mm-hmm.
those whispers of guidance that you might
Yeah.
usually brush off as random thoughts.
So it's about developing that awareness, being able
Yeah.
to pick up on those signals that are always there.
Yeah, those signals that are guiding you towards what's best for you.
Exactly. And the more you practice listening to your intuition and actually doing what it tells you,
Yeah.
the stronger it gets.
All of this is so inspiring. But I think it's important to remember that this whole journey of letting go and finding financial abundance, it's not always going to be easy.
Definitely not.
There will be ups and downs, doubts, times when we slip back into old habits of fear and scarcity.
Oh, for sure. It's a journey, not a quick fix.
Right.
And the important thing is to be patient with yourself,
Yeah.
to celebrate the little victories, and to keep coming back to the things that help you connect with abundance.
So it's about progress, not perfection.
Exactly. And remember, the universe is always on your side, even when you can't see it.
Hmm.
Sometimes the biggest breakthroughs happen after the toughest times.
That's a good thing to remember. So as we wrap up this deep dive into letting go for financial flow, what final words of wisdom do you have for our listeners who are ready to start this journey? Trust the process, believe in yourself, and remember, abundance is yours for the taking.
I love that. It's been amazing exploring these ideas with you.
Yeah, it's been fun.
And to our listeners, we encourage you to take what speaks to you from this conversation and start trying these things out in your own lives.
Yeah, give it a shot.
You might be surprised at the abundance that comes your way when you let go of fear and embrace the possibilities. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.